Comics Plus, what is going on? My name is Akasan.
What's up, Super Cruise, DC-san?
What's up, it's JJ.
What's up, it's Tyrone.
Hey, it's Marta.
Hey, we're playing the Mandalorian version of the Hollywood Squares.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and talk about our favorite show this year, possibly. We are now streaming live on Twitch right now, as it is would be. We're talking about Mandalorian Season 2 and all the love, the likes, the dislikes, all the good points, the bad points. What is up? I honestly don't really know where to start with this particular thing because we've only been a few days removed from this show, and what is people are still raving about the season finale of Luke Skywalker coming back. It's a little interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's overshadowing everything else that happened in The Mandalorian.
That's because the Force is strong with him.
I feel like that's kind of a good and bad thing, and I guess we could really get into that. I think that should be the great starting point of this discussion, because do you feel like Luke Skywalker returning has actually overshadowed exactly what the Mandalorian was supposed to be about Din's situation, Baby Yoda, Grogu, Ahsoka, we had Boba Fett. There were so many things, but all I keep on hearing is Luke Skywalker came back, and then on top of that, unfortunately, for whatever reason, I feel like there's a huge amount of fans that are now suddenly are discrediting everything about the sequel trilogy, particularly Rian Johnson's addition with The Last Jedi. For some reason, people are making this real strange disassociation that because Luke Skywalker showed up for 42 minutes in the season finale, suddenly they're going to rewrite the sequel trilogy, and old man Luke doesn't even exist anymore. That's a terrible way to do it. And now suddenly John and Dave are going to fix everything, which I disagree. So I guess that's a two-parter question.
I'll go last.
Okay. Tyrone, I'll let you take it, because a lot of people have commented that Tyrone always looked like he starts to suddenly regret being in our conversations.
Okay. So what was the first question?
So the first question is, do you feel like Luke Skywalker showing up in the season finale overshadowed almost everything about the Mandalorian show?
I don't think so, but I can see. I do feel like that it kind of did take away some of his story from Grogu and the Mandalorian. But fun fact is, I saw online that this was the highest rated show of all time on IMDb. I mean, episode of a television show at 9.9 out of 10. Yeah, it's the highest rated episode of any television show ever on IMDb.
So that means they beat out The Walking Dead.
Yeah. This is the greatest episode of TV according to IMDb. But yeah,
even Breaking Bad, the season finale.
Yeah, supposedly. Yeah.
I think I can agree with that.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, so
Really?
I don't think so. I don't
think
like
it was that. I mean, it was a good episode. It was I personally, it was a good episode, but it wasn't like I don't know. Like, no, I don't know.
Yeah. So I feel like that point would make the argument for for Luke Skywalker overshadowing a lot of things on the show. With this, I feel like a lot of it was people were basing on Luke Skywalker showing up, but also I think many people were surprised at how emotional they got. At the finale. Like I wasn't even I didn't expect. I knew it would be sad, but I didn't think it would be so emotional when it did happen. I thought it'd be finally, let's get
everybody except JJ, right? So
Oh yeah.
Breaking Bad actually has a 10.
Come to
Has
back.
has a 10.0.
JJ was testing bits.
Marta.
So I have an interesting perspective. I saw that episode that day 2 times. I saw it with you guys the first time, and then later on in that evening, my time, America time, I saw it with my mom and my cousin, who is a massive Star Wars fan. He told me that he saw Star Wars in the movie theater when he was like 10 or 11 years old. He must have seen it like 50 times. He is obsessed with that movie. He thought it was the greatest thing
He
ever.
kept Star Wars afloat for the past 30 years.
Are you drinking wine?
I think it's called Kung Fu Girl. It's a Riesling.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I like the name of it.
All right, so as you were saying, Marta.
Yeah, so when I saw the episode with him and his son, who's like 10 years old now, or like 13 or something like that, when Luke Skywalker shows up, he was freaking out. He got super emotional. He was like, this is so incredible. Just being able to see, and like the fact that like they did the CGI thing, like he was just amazed by it. I feel like the older generation, I feel like if they're still watching Star Wars, if they're still really going strong in the fandom, I feel like this episode really was like monumental for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw grown men. I've never seen so many grown men in their 40s shedding tears live on camera like that. Like the moment he shows up, people were like in tears, and I was like, God damn, bro. Like, I mean, the Grogu thing, that was emotional for me.
Yeah.
But the whole deal with Luke show X-Wing, people were breaking out into tears when the X-Wing showed up, and I was like, God damn, dude.
Completely understand that feeling.
My cousin was like, oh, wait a minute, it's Luke Skywalker! Oh my God! It was so fun to watch him watch it the first time. So, in terms of like, did it overshadow the whole possible conclusion of the Grogu Din line? I feel like it did, but at the same time, I'm not mad at it, just because like I think it's okay to kind of serve both, like, root to the really hardcore guys, and also, you know, finish up the storyline, finish up the arc, and so it was a nice way to like meld the two, since they both had to do with the same kind of conclusion. So I'm not mad at it, but I can understand people feeling like it did overshadow it, because that's all that was left about it. So yeah, but that's my opinion.
JJ, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think it overshadowed it. I mean, it's like, oh well, what the fuck happened in the last 2 seasons? No, I don't think that's the problem. But
I'm gonna have to mute you for a bit.
Mute him for a second.
There's an echo, dude. There's a huge echo. It's only from you. Like,
sorry, the big boy's just speaking. I'm joking.
JJ, just put some headphones in or something. Like, or I can just mute you for the meantime.
We're both actors in Japan. I had to get my shot in. So yeah,
can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves. Okay, that's fine.
Go ahead. And they're like, Luke Skywalker returns. They don't think that it's going to be this huge global impact. Of course they knew. So, I mean, did it overshadow it? In my opinion, no. But did it have a huge impact? Like maybe even a bigger impact? Well, fuck yeah. It's Luke Skywalker who did like, what, 5 movies now in the Star Wars universe? Not to mention comics, so many toy reissues. Right. Everybody knows Luke Skywalker. So it has a huge impact. It's culturally significant. It is game-changing. But did it overshadow The Mandalorian? No. The Mandalorian's still a great series. It still has a lot of great points. It stands alone. But that series finale, maybe the biggest shocking season finale all year.
Nah. Okay. That's actually that's a pretty big claim to fame. Their biggest shocking season finale, and I guess we're gonna get into that in our second discussion when the World of Cali joins us in the top 5 shows of 2020. Okay, DC Sun, go for it. You can unmute. Yeah.
You have permission.
Wait, you're sorry. Now we can't hear you. Now we can't hear you at all.
Uh-oh.
And now you're frozen.
You're the Kanye, right? All right.
Okay, now we have motion.
Yeah.
And now we hear you. Yes.
Okay. As far as overshadowing, I look at it like this. Anytime you introduce either a well-established character or a new character into a series, you always run the risk of overshadowing the first person that's there. Perfect example, Green Ranger in the Power Rangers. When he was introduced, he overshadowed the Red Ranger and everybody else. Became the most popular. When it comes,
I'm so old. I thought you were talking about Bruce Lee, the Green Hornet. Okay, never mind.
No.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, Tommy. That's true. Tommy. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when it comes to Luke Skywalker and having a well-established and well-loved character that's been around for more than 30 plus years, yeah, you run that risk. You run the risk because you have films that have divided the fan base, but then you also have new fans who's like, I want to know more about the character, but all I got what was in the most recent trilogy, so it wasn't much. So to see him, yeah, people would be excited. And it's like, oh, now we can actually get some of that backstory that you've somewhat said doesn't count anymore. That's been in numerous publications and things beforehand. So it does open up the doors to explore his character, whether it's with or without Grogu. That also is the same case for Ahsoka, because when they had Ahsoka come back and Boba come back, you're dealing with the same thing. These 3 characters need to have parts of their stories fleshed out. It doesn't have to be in The Mandalorian, but to have them there, to have them present, it's great for fans because it's like, we get to kind of share in their story again. So Luke Skywalker showing up, people crying, completely understand that because he was absolutely one of my favorite characters from the get-up. Both him and his father, Anakin. But at the same time, having another Mandalorian on, or Mandalorian-esque character on the Mandalorian show, it's both positive and negative because it can pull away from Din's character, which is what people worried about in season 1 when we saw the other Mandalorians of his cult running around. But in season 2, expanding the story, expanding the universe, so to speak, for his character, I think is great. Having Luke show up was a great way to keep people interested in the show, is how I look at it. A great way to keep people interested in the show because it's like, well, you know, it's Star Wars. I want to see a lightsaber, even if it's only one. Even though lightsabers don't equate to everything Star Wars, people still put those together. And the only thing that they got was Ahsoka, but Ahsoka's not there. So it's like, she's not coming back, or what do we do now? And the closest thing we get to it is the Darksaber, but it's being used by someone we're not sure if they're worthy of it or not. So having Luke come back, I think, was fantastic. I don't think it pulled away from Din Djarin. If next season is all about Luke, yeah, that's definitely going to overshadow Din Djarin because it's like, well, if he's here, we don't really need Din, which I think would be bad because Din's a great character.
Real quick though, Baby Yoda and Boba Fett, they overshadowed. In my opinion, actually,
not really, because I look at it as when it comes to the films, Boba Fett was supposed to be the original big bad of the series, and it didn't happen. They shifted directions. Then he ended up
better fight scenes. He still looked tougher. He had still more character development. He still had more character.
I look at it as they were basically giving the fans what we expected to see in his character that didn't really come to fruition in the films. So I looked at it as them playing, not necessarily it's a good or bad thing, but playing catch up with his character. So it's like his character can do more than just stand there and look cool.
But then he has no series. They could have done it not. To me, the biggest standouts of The Mandalorian were the scenes with Boba Fett. A lot of them, not all of them.
That's good. Because if you have a character that comes in and doesn't stand out, they're not really useful. So they kind of have to stand out. So it's good that they have.
I don't feel that Mando standed out as much as Boba Fett, in my opinion. I think it was
and that's cool. That's cool. I'm actually happy that he didn't stand out, especially in your case, as much as Boba, because then it means, why is Boba here? There's no need for him to be here. And it's
you could say the same with Ahsoka.
Din series, so it's nice to see that he
didn't become the Ahsoka show.
Huh?
Ahsoka was great, and she was amazing, great character, everything. Everyone was excited. It didn't become the Ahsoka show.
Yeah,
it literally was.
You have the book of Boba Fett. So
this isn't trolling. JJ is not trolling. He honestly believes this. Like, yeah, he's dead ass serious. No, but I get the point, because like Mondo, like it reminds me of the Flash. I'm like, yo, the name character is like getting overshadowed in his own show. How are you going to get overshadowed in your own show? And personally, I don't believe that, because I think it's always revolved around Din, and I think they've done a good job about that. I personally, I think I feel like that's a more or less nostalgia speaking, JJ, because for the most part, JJ and I were basically with this season 2 for the most part. The majority of episodes, and for me, the best episode was hands down with Ahsoka, but that's because I have a connection to my closest connection is with Ahsoka. But then but I noticed I think it was one episode after that was JJ's biggest reaction with Boba coming back.
I would all on that shit.
Yeah, but I think you were excited the moment Slave One showed up. Very similar to the way people were getting excited when they saw the X-Wing. Yeah, the X-Wing show up, and they equivalated that with Luke. So I think a lot of that is just nostalgia and where you're connected to, you know? If I saw young Anakin show up, if Darth Vader showed up in The Mandalorian, I'd suddenly think that was probably my favorite episode or something like that, you know?
It was my favorite episode. It's just he had it was like he crushes the stormtrooper's helmet. You see like a side of destruction of power. Like I said, there was just a whole lot of this is fucking Boba Fett, like huge character development in one episode kind of thing. And with Din,
yeah.
Basically, like at the end when you guys were very emotional and crying, I needed something a little bit more, because I was really disconnected from that character a lot of the time when I was watching it. So I was like, okay, yeah, I know he's seeing Yoda. Yeah, it's sad, but he's really stone cold in his character to me. There wasn't a lot of feeling. There wasn't a lot of that. He's like, yeah, baby Yoda, you're cute. Here's a ball. Okay, go play with that. There wasn't
again, JJ is not trolling.
Although in JJ's defense, the episode before that, he was also drunk, so he missed a lot of the emotion in that episode.
You can't get that much character development and connection in one episode.
But
really, there
wasn't needed. But you didn't need it in one episode. It was throughout the entire series. Entire series, entire show.
Okay, here you go. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Flip it around. What's the biggest like Baby Yoda? Dijin character development part to you?
Easy.
Like, wow, that's emotional.
One of the for me personally, one of the easiest ones was the entire Ahsoka episode, where he was the whole thing with that ball, the whole thing with that the ball thing was more than just trying to be cute or whatever. It was trying to show that Grogu had a tether to Din, and Ahsoka pointed that out, and the whole thing was like, but the thing that wasn't verbally really being said is that Din also had a tether to Grogu when he sat in the ship like all night long. I believe it was all night long, just sitting petting or nurturing him. Like
dog that he plays catch with a ball. Like that's not deep character like development.
Okay. Well, for me, I think I do have one. I actually do have one, and it goes back to season 1. 2 episodes for me. The first episode is the episode where he actually went back for Baby Yoda when he went back for him. And the second one was when he was in that village, and then it was the first episode where he actually took off his helmet. We didn't see his face, but he took his helmet off because he saw Baby Yoda there playing with the kids. He was thinking we could have a life here.
Yeah.
For that instant, he was thinking he saw Baby Yoda was happy. It's like he could grow up here and he could have a life here and have someone amongst. So for me, that was him willing to actually break away from his Mandalorian life and like leave that behind and actually have a life with Baby Yoda. So for me, it started back in season 1.
You're right, and Tyrone is right. Those are good points. But see how spaced out those episodes are to me?
Huh? That's normal, though. That's normal life.
You're right.
No. You're right, Tyrone. Those are good points.
I know. For me, one of those like important like special moments was when in the beginning of the first episode of season 2, where you can already tell that they've already gotten into the flow of things. When they walk into that like boxing ring place,
yeah,
and they do that, he tries to like find out where the other Mandalorians are, and that's the episode with John Leguizamo. And
I get him.
and as soon as like shit starts to go down, immediately like Grogu's like watching, and then he's like, "Oh shit, it's about to go down!" And he hits his little crib button and it goes up. And I just felt like, even though it was a comical moment,
they were in sync with each other.
Like said that they understand each other. They've been together for so long that without even saying anything, he's like picking up on Din's like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's not the greatest because like I don't, like it's sad that he's growing up in such a violent environment, and that's but I feel like it is, in addition to like what you were saying, Tyrone, it like picked up a little bit of that on for me. And I thought that was really cool. That was a very cool moment.
Okay. DC Son, was there anything? Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I agree. There are several, it's all about subtlety and the little things. So just like when you're looking at relationships between people, it's these it's the relationships between people. When you're watching anything and you see how these little nuances, how people that spend time together, they start to click, they start to mesh. Even if they have opposing views, there's things that they end up doing and saying with each other that it's like, oh, they're actually taking on traits of the other person, or they're reacting similar or reading the other person's actions naturally now, where before they were on opposing sides. Watching an NBA basketball game, you have someone going to score and they're being blocked, but they give this no-look pass to their teammate. That teammate, to anyone looking at them, looks like they're not even looking at where the ball is coming from, but they're able to receive that naturally and do what they need to do. It's that natural chemistry between people, in this case beings, if you want to get real technical about it, that starts to resonate and show throughout this entire season. And it's those little subtleties that build up towards the end, which makes, literally from the episode that Akasan mentioned where Ahsoka comes up and she's actually talking to Grogu and Din, from that episode on, you're in it. That emotion really, really resonates, especially with those two. So when it comes to the ending and it's like, well, where do we go now? And it's like, what is the term where if you love it, if you love someone or you love something, let it go.
Let it go. Yeah.
Let it go.
If they come
and
back,
that's exactly what happened. And it's really hard because for diehard fans, that's how they felt about Luke Skywalker, X-Wings, whatever. So when he shows up, they have that feeling. For new people and anyone who's just watching this series by itself, it ends up being one of those where it's like, I feel Din's pain because now him and Grogu are being separated. Where does that leave those two? They have to go on separate paths, but will they come back together? I hope so. Because more times than not, you have people where it's like, I promise I'll see you next time, and then something happens. I really don't want that to happen in this because I think that just be horrible.
We discussed that before.
And no, not triggered. Just JJ likes to troll, and I just
For the
like
Mandalorian,
trolling him back.
best if maybe if Grogu leaves, because then we can do a lot more with the Mandalorian. We all discussed that before and agreed on that, right?
Yeah.
And it happened, and you guys are just like, "Oh my god, we left," but it's like, no, it's good.
Well, of course, because
something that-
he had an attachment to the character.
Everyone goes chaos. What?
It's something that needed to happen. Story-wise, it needed to happen, but I think most people didn't expect it to hurt that much. Like,
Exactly.
it's the same as sending a kid off to college or something, or sending your kid off to, when I used to work in kindergarten or daycare, like, it's crazy. Like, kids, like, and this is specifically coming from like someone like Callie, she can't wait. She'll be like, man, I can't wait to get this fucker out the house or whatever. She can't wait to let that kid go, so she can have her free time again and start drinking wine again. But the moment it happens, you start tearing up. I'll never forget when I used to work at the daycare, these kids would be getting shipped off. It'd be their first time, they're crying or whatever. And the moms would be in the elevator crying and everything because they're also having what you call separation anxiety. And I'd be like, if they were hot, I come and console them. It was perfect. So. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears here to some Star Wars news here. I actually messaged the director of the last episode, Peyton Reed, I believe. His name is
Peyton Reed. Peyton Reed.
Yeah. So I actually messaged
like, JJ,
him.
you're banned from Star Wars.
Yeah. Messaged him about, because he just wanted to say thank you for everybody's reaction to the Star Wars season 2 finale have been overwhelming. May the force be with you. And I messaged him, and that was it. That's
great.
But more importantly, from the news we were talking about, there was kind of everybody was kind of confused about what they're doing with the Boba Fett show, the Book of Boba. The latest information, DC son.
Latest information: the Book of Boba will be the next focus will be on him. And as it stands now, there's been miscommunication where was it December 21st or December 23rd of next year is when it's supposed to come out, and people were expecting season 3 of The Mandalorian to come out and be separate, but it's not. The Book of Boba will be season 3 of The Mandalorian. But they will touch on other characters from there on out. Thank you. But other than that, they're going to be focusing on Boba and the underworld, and then building from there on the opposite side with the Mandalorians on Mandalore.
So this is this goes back to what we were just talking about. It's like, Luke is one thing, but yeah, Boba essentially, in some form or fashion, essentially just took over the timeline of the Mandalorian, of Din, and that kind of
not really.
Well, yes, because we're not getting a Mandalorian.
He's taking over the underworld, so you can actually have both stories.
No, I'm talking about literally the time, not the time zone next year or this time period. It won't be the Mandalorian. It's going to be Boba Fett. So if you were only in it for baby Yoda and Din, you're not getting that next year.
No, we don't know that for sure, because they could have partial season of the Book of Boba, and then the rest of it being Din, or they can actually have them interacting with each other, but the focus is going to start with Boba.
Yeah, I think
which is okay. I think it's good because
Boba. If you're a Star Wars fan and you were like, "Damn, he came out of the Sarlacc pit," like talking back to that character development, seeing Boba, you're like, "Fuck, that guy survived. What happened?" You're so into it. If you're a Star Wars fan and you know that shit, like, yeah, he was in the Sarlacc pit.
But
I would argue
if you're a Star Wars fan, you're probably reading the comic books.
I don't think. I would say there's different generations. Like, I'm a Star Wars fan, I believe, but I don't give two shits about Boba Fett. I honestly don't give two shits about Boba Fett. I barely cared about Luke Skywalker until The Last Jedi. Yes, I said it. I only got into Star Wars because of Darth
How old
Maul.
were you when you got into Star Wars then, Akasan?
Huh?
Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So see, that explains it, right? Like I grew up.
I literally,
My dad watched it in the movie theater. Like
the only reason my father was a Jedi, no, but my father was into the original Star Wars, so he grew up on the original Star Wars. He damn near named me after a Star Wars character. He was so into it, and I had no idea what the fuck R2-D2 or Chewbacca was growing up until Phantom Menace came out. The Phantom Menace the Phantom Menace was on its way out. And I remember people were paying money for this whack movie just to see the trailer of the Phantom Menace, and people were getting up and leaving after that. And then they re-released the original trilogy before the Phantom Menace came out, I think, to get people hyped. And a dead ass, that was the first time I ever saw the original trilogy, was the re-release. So when the Death Star blew up, all these fuckers in the theater were like, "Oh, whoa, it's so cool!" I'm like, "What?" Like that, or
that's the difference.
Jabba the Hutt. Jabba the Hutt was walking with Han Solo. People were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" I'm like,
that's right, because the new additions to it.
Yeah.
But that's you just explained something that's perfect for Star Wars. You have generational gaps for the series.
Yeah.
You have people that came in with the prequels. You have people that came in with the originals. You have people that came in with the sequels. And what they're doing with the Mandalorian, they are trying to streamline it by bringing in different characters and kind of trying to satiate what happened in the sequels that people liked or didn't like. But you have people that are fans of the classics and people that came in with Phantom Menace. So trying to dip into a timeline that's right in the middle where you can kind of do a little bit of whatever you want to, as long as it doesn't interfere with what happened before or after, I'm cool with that, because it'd be nice to see what happened to other characters outside of what happened in just the movie. And Boba, him being there, it's cool. I'm whatever, but I'd like to know what happens to some of the other characters also, just because he's had good screen time. I'm happy with him getting a series or whatever it's going to equate to, and that's fine. But I would like to know what happens with some of the other characters. Taking Din and Grogu off the table, I think, is also smart, because we've had 2 years with them. Take them off and go to the drawing board and do a really good story, as opposed to just rushing to get it out.
I mean, but let's be honest. We've had 2 years, but literally only 8 episodes, if not even that. I'm sorry, 16 episodes.
16, but the downside to that is we've also had Corona and other things happen, so it makes things a little difficult to do.
Agreed.
Now, if we're not dealing with that, they can churn them out like butter. That's fine. And as far as the question in the chat about releasing all these different shows and stuff like that, and Kathleen Kennedy and so on and so forth, you have shows that get announced. They don't always get made.
Yeah.
Or they'll start making them and then find out it's not going the way they want to. They scrap it, condense it, or add it to something else and move on. All the show announcements, that's fantastic. It's great because it gives creatives a chance to do something different. Now, will they all be great? Don't know until it happens.
Okay. Let me see. I want to wrap up here because we're already at that 50-minute mark here. Marta, was there anything that you want to say about that?
Yeah, I kind of had an idea, but now, like, after DC-san spoke, I think it makes more sense. But, like, okay, now that, like, when you guys first said that they were essentially kind of switching out the stories, that season 3 would be Book of Boba and not focusing on the Mandalorian anymore. Immediately, I was like really upset. But then at the same time, I thought, well, what if they do kind of have this like transition? And I think Boba would be a really interesting character to kind of wrap up the storyline of Din's like conflict with the Mandalorian religion. because now he has not only the two women, but he also has Boba Fett's perspective, which is completely different from the two women. So he's got 3 different perspectives to consider: the Mandalorian religion, the version of the 2 women, and Boba's version. So I think that could make for some really interesting story to kind of see him now kind of focus on his internal struggle. Now he finished the struggle with getting Grogu to where he needed to be. Now he has to face his own struggles. And then after that, I feel like we'll see a more complete and a more whole character, like a character that has finished its journey fully.
And honestly, I honestly don't want to wait too. I don't want that story to get sidelined by the Book of Boba.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it will be.
I don't think we should.
Ahsoka has her spin-off.
I can't believe it can't be like that. They got to have something else. And like Dante has kind of been alluding to, maybe half of it. Maybe it'll do 16 episodes. Or Book of Boba
being an actual full series of 16 episodes.
Right. So 8 episodes of the Book of Boba, and then the beginning of January they do the Mandalorian season 3.
It might be. I think it's something like that. Yeah.
No way they're gonna wait 2 years for one of the hottest properties, which is baby Grogu. Right.
I think so.
Well, you got to look at it in 2 different ways. Them waiting does give them a chance to do other things with the character, give it a time jump, and go into the story from there. But at the same time, remember, you have, like people have been mentioning, this long list of TV shows and things that are coming out. When you release too many things at one time, people are like, it's too much. Think about how people felt when they had all these big superhero movies coming out 2 and 3 months apart from each other. It was kind of exhausting for some people. It's like, I just left the theater. I'm still trying to get over the movie before that. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing with some TV shows in the same universe. You need a palate cleanse. So changing your characters, changing the tones does help for the property that came before. Yeah. Because if you do too much at once, you're going to burn out.
I agree.
Luke has to come back.
Yeah. I was also thinking.
Didn't hear what Akasan said.
Yeah, go, Tyrone.
I was also thinking that it could be that they may actually have big plans for the next season, and to do these things, it may take time for effects, certain things. So it could be season 3 could be such an epic season that they go, okay, we can make a kind of cheap-ish Boba Fett show where we don't need as much, because maybe the next Mandalorian could have like a lot of space battles, or we don't know what it is. So it could be a bigger storyline. They tend to do that with shows.
I agree with Tyrone with taking time to build a bigger production, or to do more with your production. Not necessarily that it has to be bigger. It does take time. And if you're going to have Din exploring more about the Mandalorian culture and things, because if you look at from season 1 to the end of season 2, they have stripped him down externally.
Fucking balls.
And now he has to work on the internal struggle of, who am I and who do I need to be from here on out? And I think that's great. Doing that in his next follow-up, it would take more Mandalorians, more culture. Visiting Mandalore would actually be really nice.
Yeah,
and
that's
see what it's like now, and go from there with his character.
What about one of the comments was pretty funny. What about if they did the time jump and we had teenage Yoda like they did like Root? Yeah, right.
But that's what I mean. I mean that's what I'm talking about.
All into the Force, like, yeah, dude, Force is fucking awesome.
How strong it is. I fuck all that.
You know, if they can, again, if it comes down to writing, don't really care what happens as long as the writing is good, and it doesn't leave plot holes for what came before it and or after. They don't do that. Fine, have at it.
All right. I want to wrap this up here. So let's just go quickly. Your top episodes. Your top episode. I'm sorry. Your top episode of season 2. For me, easily Ahsoka. The Ahsoka episode was the top episode for me.
That's
For
hard.
me, a tie between Ahsoka and Luke's episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, Ahsoka and Boba's episode.
Well, yeah, I guess for me, before I started watching the Clone Wars, I probably would have said the Luke episode, which is major. But also for me now, it's the Ahsoka episode because since I've been watching Clone Wars so much, I can only see Rosario Dawson as playing that character.
Oh, like, she did.
That is Rosario Dawson.
Perfect casting.
Yeah, it's like perfect casting. Like she looks exactly like her. Like they couldn't have chosen anyone else. I mean, they probably could have found an actress look similar, but
you know, believe it or not, like she is another result. She is another result of a friend of ours, Boss Logic, who he does.
I like Boss Logic.
He does a lot of the fan art and a lot of stuff that I get a lot of his work. And I actually met him last year for the first time, but I just communicated with him. Rosario Dawson was purely hired on the fact that he did a fan art of her.
Really?
This is like the third time this has happened where
because The Witcher also he did some fan art for The Witcher and it ended up being their actual their real promo.
So what happens is it gets put out into the ether right there, and then somebody knows somebody that makes a call, and they're like, you know what? I could see this happening. Would you like to come in for an audition? And so then, believe it or not, I had to message him after the season finale because months ago he put out this man-up of Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker, and the moment, and I was like, dude, I hate that you did this because I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it, and I only want this to happen. After the season finale, I was like, bro, are you getting the leaks to this show? He's like, nah, man, I had no idea at all that this is happening. I'm like, dude, this is like the fourth time you've been on par with this, right?
Yeah.
I would be so happy if they did that. I think it's good casting. Sebastian Stan's a fantastic actor, and I think he'd do the character justice. And he's a Mark Hamill fan.
I thought the ending would be the end. That's Luke Skywalker, Baby Yoda. They took their part away. That's it. But if he was Mark Hamill, I would so be down for like a Luke spinoff or more Luke. If he acted as Luke, not the deep fake shit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the deep. If anything, and honestly speaking, that's probably the only one of the main reasons the season finale gets a few knocks off for me, because the deep fake was so distracting. Yeah, it was way too noticeable that I just was like, nah, man, like you really should have just recast somebody. You really should have cast somebody else to just play the role. Like, we're all grown-ups, we can understand, and for kids they wouldn't really notice that much of a difference. It's like there's so many.
You have to say it was Luke though, just in case those kids didn't get it, or like we said with the generational gap. So I think it's okay what they did.
The missing the mechanical hand, the green lightsaber, the X-wing. It's like we knew it was Luke before we saw his face. I mean,
some people grew up with a Phantom Menace, you know?
But not joking. Seeing the X-wing, because we all know that I love X-wings anyway. Seeing it made me think and hope it was Luke, but part of me was like, watch it not be Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, right.
That would have been worse.
That's why I was like, is it? And then even when he ignites that green saber, it's one of those just like they could still do me at the last moment.
Right? Yeah, I waited till
I didn't want to get my hopes up.
It was Luke.
It was the belt that confirmed it for me. It was the belt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when you see the belt in the hand, it's like, it is him.
Well, I mean, it was lightsaber.
You have episode 8 and people like it, or in the opposite side hate it. And I'm one of those people where I watched and I was like, fool me once. You had one job and it didn't go well. But I mean,
this freaking Ozen guy is just shooting out hot takes. I think he wants attention, or she wants attention.
My favorite episode this season
Oh yeah,
was actually the Heiress episode where we are introduced to Bo-Katan.
Why?
That
I
was
love that episode too.
Because it, not knowing Clone Wars, it just flipped the entire ideology that I had known about the Mandalorian up on its head, and I loved that, and I thought that was exciting, so freaking exciting that like what I thought was Mandalorian code and law and stuff was suddenly just one of many options. And I think that's really cool, especially like we just finished watching the entire Star Wars movie saga, and the last episode, the last episode of the movies, I realized that a lot of it was about the Jedi religion and like letting it go, and the books. There was a lot of focus on the books and the texts and stuff, and it's like it also kind of had like a similar, like there's not one way to be a Jedi, and so the fact that there's not just one way to be a Mandalorian, I thought that was so awesome. So that was my favorite thing, because I feel like it was true to the theme of the show.
I agree. That was an amazing episode. You're right, Mark.
And no, I watched that episode.
Your viewpoint makes sense.
It's just the fact that the Heiress was probably the best episode at that point, and like it was so hype at that time, but it just kept on getting better and better and better, and that's what's really cool about it. Favorite episode?
That's why I don't want them to rush the show. I want them to take their time with it.
Yeah, exactly. Because
it's getting better.
I'm gonna be so disappointed.
But it's so rushed already. Now they got fucking Obi-Wan, which is gonna be sick. They have all.
But that's a different show.
That's
but it's same.
Take their time with this show.
The
with all the other shows, they'll do it.
Okay, I'm wrapping up here. Did everybody say their favorite episode?
Yes.
Huh?
Give us one, Marta.
Yeah. We all said
your favorite episodes. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. All right, so that is it, guys. That's going to be, for the most part, our Mandalorian chat. I appreciate everybody being part of it this season. This was amazing. This was an amazing experience. Outside of the pandemic and all that, I'm glad that we could use the Force and connect everybody one way or another. It's weird. This entire year has kind of been all virtual, but we made it work. So I'm glad, and I'm sure nothing will ever be the same, even when the COVID is done and such. I'm sure this will probably be the norm from here on out, especially with the time zones and such. But we'll see what other shows may come through the Star Wars universe. We'll try to do some more stuff as well. So make sure you guys subscribe to everybody that's doing their content, baking their cookies, doing comedy, telling you about their life in acting, or podcasts and streaming through the blurred lines. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you next season or next year for whatever the Force may give us. We'll talk to you.
May the Force be with you.
Yeah.